The sky was clear that morning in July 1937. Amelia Earhart adjusted her leather goggles and smiled at her navigator. Her plane, the Lockheed Electra, sat ready on the runway, full of fuel and hope. This was supposed to be the final leg of her journey around the world. She was calm, focused, and brave, just like always. But deep inside, something didn't feel right. She shook it off, took a deep breath, and started the engine. The Electra rose into the sky and disappeared into the clouds over the Pacific Ocean. Hours passed, then silence, radio signals stopped, search planes flew for days. But no one found her or the wreckage. The world cried, then gave up. Amelia Earhart was declared dead, lost at sea forever. But the truth was different, very different. In a far future, on the edge of a forgotten galaxy, a young pilot named Jack Carter drifted in his old scout ship. He wasn't famous or rich. He just liked exploring strange places no one dared to visit. That's why he flew into a restricted zone, a place marked dead space by all the maps. He shouldn't have been there, but Jack had always followed his gut, not the rules. Suddenly, his radar beeped. He looked up to see a strange energy wave heading toward his ship. Before he could react, his ship shook violently and crashed onto a gray, rocky planet, systems offline, no signal, no escape. Jack climbed out of the broken hatch, breathing hard. The air was thin. The sky was dark, but in the distance, something glowed under the rocks. He walked toward it, pushing dust and ash aside. There it was, a crystal pod, half buried and covered in time. Inside the pod, frozen like a statue, was a girl, not human, not fully alien either. Her skin was smooth and pale blue, her hair white as snow. She had sharp but soft features, a strange beauty that was hard to describe. But what shocked Jack most was the old leather pilot pendant around her neck. It had a faded engraving. Jack stared at the pendant in disbelief. "Wait, is that Amelia Earhart?" He whispered. No one knew how, but the frozen alien girl began to stir. The crystal shell cracked and hissed as cold air escaped. Jack stepped back, unsure what to do. Then her eyes opened, silver and glowing. She looked right at Jack, confused but alive. Where am I?" she asked in perfect English. Her voice soft but shaking. Jack froze. She spoke English? She sounded human, no. She sounded exactly like recordings of Amelia Earhart. The same voice he had heard in documentaries. He replied slowly, "You're on a planet. You crashed, I think, or were trapped." She blinked, looking around, then touched her pendant and held it close. "I was flying. Then the sky opened. And I was taken," she said. Her words were strange but honest. Jack didn't understand how an alien girl could have Amelia's pendant. Voice and memories. This wasn't possible. Unless he opened a scanner from his belt and ran it over her. The scanner beeped wildly, confused. Her DNA was not fully human, not fully alien either, something in between. A fusion. Jack stared at her. "Who are you really?" he asked. She looked into his eyes, trembling slightly. "My name is Amelia," she whispered. "Amelia Earhart." Jack stepped back, stunned. Everything inside him screamed this was impossible, but everything around him said it was true. This girl, this alien girl, claimed to be the most famous missing pilot in Earth's history, and somehow she remembered everything. But how? How could a human woman from 1937 become this? As the wind howled across the dead planet, Jack looked up at the sky. Something told him this wasn't just a mystery. It was a trap, because if someone had taken Amelia, they might still be watching, and they wouldn't like that. She just woke up. Jack Carter didn't speak for a long moment. The girl stood before him, glowing faintly in the dim air, her silver eyes wide. She looked afraid, confused, but somehow still brave. Her hands trembled as she held the pilot pendant close to her chest, like it was the only thing she trusted. "You say you're Amelia?" Jack asked again. Slower this time, the girl nodded. "I flew a plane called the Electra over the Pacific in 1937. She paused, but I never landed. Jack stared at her alien face. She didn't look human. Her skin shimmered like glass. Her body was thinner. And her ears were slightly pointed, but her voice, that voice had something human in it. Something he recognized. Still, it was impossible. Amelia Earhart disappeared over 800 years ago, Jack said. You should be. Dust, the girl blinked fast. Then looked at the dark sky above. Then they really kept me frozen this long, she whispered. Who kept you frozen? Jack asked quickly, who are they? Her voice dropped to a whisper. The Ilarian, Jack frowned. That name isn't in any database I've seen. She looked back at him, her face serious. They are not in your databases because they don't want to be found. They fly ships like black shadows, she said. They come when the world is still, and they take what they want. Jack's heart pounded. He thought of all the stories, legends about alien ships snatching planes. People, even cities, everyone called them myths. But what if they were true? Amelia pointed at a scar on her arm, long and silvery. They changed me, she said quietly. My body couldn't breathe in space, so they made it different. I was their experiment. She held up her hands. I don't even know what I am anymore. Jack could hear the pain in her voice. She wasn't just some strange alien. She was a prisoner, taken from her world, turned into something else, and locked away for centuries. But why? Jack sat down on a rock, running a hand through his hair. This is too much, he muttered. First I crash, then I find a frozen alien girl. And now you're telling me you're a piece of Earth's history. Amelia sat across from him slowly, still weak. I didn't ask for this, she said. I just wanted to go home. For a moment, they sat in silence, surrounded by strange winds and the lonely sound of this dead planet. Then Jack asked, why you? Why did they take you? She didn't answer right away. I saw something, she said at last, inside their ship when they were changing me. I saw something they wanted to keep secret. What was it? I don't remember all of it, she said, but it scared them. Jack stood up again and looked toward the distant wreckage of his ship. He had no signal, no backup, no help, but something told him he had found something important, maybe the most important thing in the galaxy. Can you walk? He asked her. She nodded, slowly standing. Not far, but I'll try. He offered his hand, and for a moment, she hesitated. Then she took it. Her skin was cool, almost smooth like stone, but her grip was human, tired, but real, and in that second, he believed her. They walked back toward the wreck of Jack's scout ship. It was cracked, bent, and broken, but the inside still had working power. Amelia sat quietly while Jack activated the emergency beacon. No signal, he muttered, hitting the panel. Jammed. She looked at the screen, her eyes focused. May I try? Jack stepped back, unsure what she could do, but her fingers moved quickly over the controls. Suddenly, the screen flashed, and strange symbols appeared. Jack stepped closer, confused. That's not Earth tech, he said. No, she replied. It's Ilarian code. You can read that? I lived with them for a long time, she said softly. Long enough to learn how to break their signals. A cold chill ran through Jack. If she could break their code, she was more dangerous than she looked. And if they knew she escaped, they might come for her. Are they still looking for you? He asked carefully. Yes, she said simply. They never stopped. Suddenly, the ship's alarm blared. A red warning flashed. Unknown signal detected. Jack rushed to the screen. An object was approaching fast, too fast. Someone found us, he said. Amelia stood up, her eyes serious. Then we must go. But we can't leave, Jack said. My ship's broken. Then we hide, she replied, already heading toward the cave where he found her. Jack followed, heart racing, as they disappeared into the shadows above them. Something dark crossed the sky, silent, smooth, and shaped like a blade. The Ilarian were here. They had returned for what was once theirs. But this time, Amelia wouldn't go without a fight. The cave was cold, dry, and silent. Dust clung to the stone walls like old secrets. Jack and Amelia crouched near the entrance, holding their breath as a dark shadow passed above. Neither of them spoke, even the smallest sound could give them. Away, the Ilarian ship hovered outside, silent like a ghost. It didn't use engines that roared or burned. It floated through space like it was part of the stars. No one knew how their ships worked. No one even knew they were real. But Jack was seeing it with his own eyes, and now, so was Earth's most famous lost pilot reborn as something alien. "They're scanning," Amelia whispered. Jack looked at her. "Can they find us in here?" She shook her head. "Not right away. The rock walls confuse their sensors. But it won't last long." Jack checked his small toolkit. Barely anything useful left. One broken pulse gun, a low battery scanner, and 2 flare sticks. Not much. Against an alien empire. He looked at Amelia. "If we stay here, we're dead." She nodded slowly. "Then we run." But as they moved deeper into the cave, Jack asked the question that had been burning in his mind. "What happened to you after you disappeared?" Amelia stopped walking, her glowing eyes dimming with pain. "It was like falling through light," she said softly. "I was flying over the Pacific. Then everything went white. I woke up on a table surrounded by beings with no faces, just glass masks and voices in my head. They told me I was chosen for something greater." Jack listened quietly as they kept walking. "They cut into me," she continued, "replaced my bones, changed my skin, made me breathe their air. They said I was becoming universal, a being that could survive anywhere. But they lied. What did they really want?" Jack asked. Amelia's voice dropped low. "They wanted my brain, my memories. They wanted to know how humans think, feel, and love. They believe that emotions are a weakness, and they wanted to erase them from their future soldiers." Jack felt his chest tighten. This wasn't just about Amelia anymore. This was about humanity. What made it different? What made it dangerous to cold, logic-driven alien empires? "And you escaped?" Jack asked. Amelia nodded. "I destroyed their lab using a power cell. But I was wounded. I found an old Ilarian pod and sealed myself inside. I set it to freeze me until I was found by something, or someone human." She looked at Jack. "I didn't think I'd wait this long." He didn't know what to say. Amelia Earhart had vanished into history. But the truth was even stranger. She had been turned into something between human and alien. And now, her memories might be the key to everything the Ilarian feared. Suddenly, the walls around them hummed. Jack turned. "They're close." Amelia touched the stone wall and closed her eyes. "I remember something," she said. "There's an old escape tunnel here from the mining wars." She pushed a hidden panel, and a part of the wall opened. Darkness stared back. Jack didn't hesitate. They stepped in and sealed the entrance behind them. Inside, the tunnel stretched down, deeper into the planet, old. Wires hung from the ceiling, sparking now and then. Strange symbols lined the walls, glowing faint blue. "This place is older than the Ilarian," Amelia said quietly. "Maybe that's why they never destroyed it." After walking for hours, they reached a small control room. Jack powered it up using a portable core. Screens blinked to life, showing systems, maps, and an old transmission log. Amelia stepped forward, scanning the display. Her eyes widened. "Jack, there's something here." She tapped the screen, revealing a hidden file. It was marked Project Keystone. Jack squinted. "Edit. What's that?" Amelia's voice turned serious. "That's what they implanted in me. They made me the Keystone to something big, something they were building." Jack leaned in. "Like a weapon?" She nodded slowly. "A key to unlock a vault, a machine, a secret, maybe all three." The file said only one thing in galactic common. Keystone must not fall into human hands. Jack stared at the message. Now it made sense. The Ilarian weren't just hunting Amelia because she escaped. They were hunting her because she was dangerous, because she was now part of a weapon they couldn't allow humanity to control. Amelia stepped back from the screen, her face pale. I thought I was just a test subject, she said quietly. But I'm something worse. I'm a key to galactic destruction. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. No, he said. You're still you. They turned your body into something alien, but your soul, it's still human. Suddenly, the tunnel lights turned red. Movement detected. The system flashed. The Ilarian had found the entrance. They had minutes, maybe less. Jack picked up the broken pulse gun. Amelia touched the screen one last time. Copying the keystone file to a chip. We can't let them have this, she said. Jack nodded. Then let's run. But as they turned to escape, the wall behind them shook. The Ilarian had arrived. And they brought more than soldiers. They brought the machine. Asterisk. The ground shook beneath Jack's boots. Dust fell from the ceiling of the tunnel. Amelia gripped the wall to stay steady. Behind them, red warning lights blinked faster. The Ilarian had found them, and they were not coming alone. Jack's broken pulse gun crackled weakly. It wasn't enough to fight what was coming. He knew it, and so did she. Amelia glanced at the chip in her hand, glowing softly with alien code. The keystone file, the secret they tried to bury inside her, and now they wanted it back. They're close. Amelia whispered. I know, Jack replied. We have one chance to escape. He pointed to a narrow maintenance shaft ahead, small, dark and probably unstable, but it was their only hope. Without hesitation, they climbed inside, crawling through sharp pipes and hanging wires. Each movement echoed softly, every sound a risk. Behind them, metallic footsteps approached. Too smooth, too perfect. Ilarian soldiers had entered the tunnel. Their machines? Jack asked, crawling faster. Amelia nodded. Biosynthetic. Half metal, half living tissue. They don't feel pain, they don't sleep, and they don't stop. Jack muttered under his breath. Perfect. Suddenly, the shaft opened into a wide chamber, an old mining platform filled with broken crates, rusted panels, and old transport vehicles. Jack spotted a small hover skiff in the corner, half covered in ash. If that thing still works, he said, running over to it. He yanked open the panel and tried to power it up. Nothing. Amelia stepped beside him, her fingers glowing faintly blue. She touched the console, whispering a strange alien phrase. The engine hummed, then came to life. Jack looked at her, surprised. You can control tech like that? Part of the transformation, she said, eyes low. They didn't just change my body. He didn't ask more. They jumped onto the skiff and sped through the chamber, the hovercraft floating inches above the ground. As they turned the corner, the tunnel behind exploded. From the dust stepped two tall Ilarian hunters, dark armor, glowing eyes and long plasma blades. They didn't speak, they didn't run. They just followed, calm, cold, silent. Jack pushed the skiff faster, dodging debris. Where does this tunnel lead? To the old surface pads, Amelia answered. But the Ilarian know that too. They'll block us. Then we go off route, Jack said, steering left into an old maintenance pipe that hadn't been used in decades. Steam hissed around them. Lights flickered, and the skiff barely fit, but it moved. Faster than the soldiers could follow, at least for now. Amelia held onto the side tightly. Her mind swirled with flashes, white runes, sharp tools, voices without mouths. She remembered them turning her thoughts into code, her feelings into numbers. They thought they could erase her, but they failed. She looked at Jack, this reckless human who risked his life for someone he barely knew. He was nothing like the Ilarian. He wasn't cold. He wasn't silent. He felt. And that made all the difference. Suddenly, the pipe ended, opening into a cave high above a glowing lake of blue crystals. A massive waterfall fell from the ceiling, and the skiff flew out, falling fast. Jack yanked the stabilizer, and the skiff leveled just in time. They glided over the glowing surface, reflections dancing all around them. Amelia stared at the crystals, eyes wide. This place. It's alive. Jack looked confused. Alive? She nodded slowly. These crystals, they can store thoughts. They're like memory banks. Natural ones. Suddenly her pendant glowed. A soft hum vibrated through the air, and images flashed across the cave walls. Amelia, as a human, standing in her old pilot suit, smiling beside her Electra. Then flashes of her being taken, the ship, the transformation, her escape. Jack watched in shock as the walls told her story, everything. The crystals had absorbed her pain, her memories, her truth. "That's how they erased me," she whispered. "But now." "The crystals remember." Jack stepped down from the skiff and reached for one of the glowing stones. "Maybe Earth needs to see this," he said. Amelia nodded. "Yes. But the Ilarian will try to destroy it first." Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed across the cave, metal against stone. They turned. One of the Ilarian hunters had found them. It raised its arm and launched a blade of light. Jack pulled Amelia down just in time, the beam slicing through the air above them. "Run!" he shouted. They dashed across the crystal floor as more soldiers entered from the tunnel. But as they ran, the crystals began to hum louder. Lights pulsed under their feet, and then a hidden platform rose from the lake. On it stood a small ship, old and dusty, but still intact. A message appeared on the side. "Emergency return pod, human compatible." Amelia's eyes filled with tears. "They built this in case I ever escaped." "Then it's time we go," Jack said. Pulling her onto the platform, the ship opened slowly, revealing 2 seats and a glowing console. They climbed in, sealed the hatch, and hit launch. As the pod lifted into the air, the Ilarian fired at the crystals below, but it was too late. The pod soared upward into a hidden shaft, escaping the underground city. Below, the cave collapsed, but not before saving Amelia's truth inside the memory crystals. High above, the sky opened to stars. Jack looked over at her. "We're not safe yet," he said. "I know," she replied, gripping the chip tight. "But we have the truth now, and the galaxy won't be ready for it." Asterisk, the emergency return pod burst through the atmosphere like a silver flame. Clouds split apart as it flew high into space. Behind it, the planet slowly faded, leaving the buried secrets of the Ilarian under layers of ash and stone. But Jack and Amelia carried something more dangerous than any weapon. They carried the truth, and in Amelia's blood. The galaxy's most terrifying secret slept inside the pod. Jack tightened the straps and stared at the navigation screen. The system was old, pre-galactic war era, and barely stable. "We've only got one jump left," he muttered. Amelia, sitting beside him, looked pale and tired. Her body was trembling again, quietly, but constantly. He noticed her hands had changed color, shifting from light blue to a faint silver. "Are you okay?" Jack asked. She nodded weakly. "The code inside me. It's waking up." Jack frowned. "What code?" Amelia looked at him slowly. "The Ilarian didn't just experiment on me," she said. "They hid something inside me. Something they feared others would find." She touched the side of her neck. A soft glow pulsed under her skin, barely visible but very real. "I didn't just steal their secrets," she whispered. "They made me part of them." Jack felt cold. He had risked everything to save her, but now, was she even safe to be around? Amelia looked down at the chip in her hand. "The file we copied, Keystone. It's not just data," she said. "It's alive in a way. It connects to my blood, my cells, even my thoughts." Jack leaned back in his seat. "So, what does that mean?" Amelia swallowed. "It means the Ilarian can find me wherever I go. And worse, if someone forces this data to activate, it could open things that were never meant to be touched." Jack asked carefully. "Like what?" Amelia turned her head, her voice hollow. "An ancient vault, hidden in a dying system, built to destroy civilizations. They called it the Silencer." The name echoed inside the tiny pod like a whisper from death itself. Jack didn't speak for a moment. Then finally, "So you're saying you're the key to a weapon that can wipe out entire planets?" "Yes," she answered quietly. "And the Ilarian planned to use me against Earth. If I hadn't escaped." Jack's fists tightened. Now he understood. This wasn't just about Amelia. It was about war, a secret war the galaxy never knew. Was coming. Suddenly the ship jolted. Red lights blinked on the console. Tracking signal detected. They found us. Jack shouted. Amelia's eyes widened. They're locking onto the code. The pod had no weapons, no defense system. Only one thing, an emergency escape beacon. And a small medical module. Jack stood up, scanning the pod systems for any idea. We can't outrun them, he said. But maybe we can hide you. Amelia looked at him. What do you mean? Jack opened the med module, revealing a cryo-freeze chamber. If I put you in here, it'll shut down all your signals, including the code in your blood. They won't be able to trace you. Amelia stepped back, shaking her head. No, she said. I just got free. I can't go back into the dark. Jack stepped closer. You won't be alone this time. I promise. I'll get help, real help. People who can erase that code from your system. Tears formed in Amelia's glowing eyes. I don't want to forget again, she whispered. Jack touched her shoulder gently. You won't, he said. This time the memory stays safe with me. She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. If you don't come back. She began. I will, Jack said firmly. That's a promise from one pilot to another. Amelia smiled faintly. Then I trust you. She stepped into the chamber, lying down slowly, the door sealed, and a white mist filled the pod, freezing her body safely. Her heartbeat slowed, her breathing stopped, but her eyes remained open. Watching Jack one last time, the moment the freeze locked, the signal vanished. Outside, a dark Illyrian ship entered the sector, but their scanners turned up nothing. Just an empty pod floating silently near a red star. Jack activated the pod's escape beacon and launched a fake distress call. Then he ejected himself in a hidden pilot capsule, cloaking it before it vanished into space. He watched the Illyrian ship from a distance. They circled the pod for hours, then finally they left. Jack sighed with relief. He had one mission now: reach the Human Core Alliance. Only Earth's scientists could save Amelia. Only they had the power to shut down what the Illyrian created. As the stars drifted past, Jack whispered into the quiet, Hang on, Amelia, you were meant to fly. Not to be used. I'll bring you home. And far behind, inside the frozen pod, Amelia slept, not just as a mystery, but as the key to the galaxy's future. If she woke again, it would change everything. The stars stretched like thin threads as Jack Carter's stealth capsule drifted through deep space. Behind him, the emergency pod carrying Amelia floated in silence, its signals dark, its surface frozen. It looked like space junk to anyone passing by, but inside it, the key to the galaxy's most dangerous secret lay asleep. And Jack had sworn to protect it, no matter what. His small capsule was fast but had no weapons. Only a forged ID chip and a hidden mission. He plotted a risky course, not toward Earth, but deeper into alien territory, toward the rebel colonies. If anyone knew how to remove Illyrian code safely, it was the rebels. They had been fighting the Illyrians silently for decades, living in shadows, building resistance, and saving those the Empire broke. As the capsule glided toward the edge of a dark nebula, Jack opened a private channel. A deep voice answered. State your business. Jack leaned forward. I'm a human pilot carrying something the Illyrian want to erase. They'll wipe out planets to get it. There was silence. Then the voice replied, Follow the beacon, and don't stray. Hours later, Jack landed on a hidden asteroid base, carved into a spinning rock field. Alien fighters hovered overhead, sleek and marked with glowing red symbols. As he stepped out, 4 armed guards approached, humanoid but not human. Their skin was deep gray, eyes golden, and armor worn from years of battle. Jack raised his hand slowly. I come in peace. One of them scanned him. You were expected, the leader sighed, motioning him forward. They led him through tunnels lit with biolights, living organisms that glowed like fireflies. Deep inside, he entered a chamber filled with old tech, half broken, half stolen, and in the center stood a tall figure in a hood. She turned and revealed a scarred but elegant alien face. One eye was mechanical, the other bright green. "I'm Commander Rena," she said. "You have something that scares even the Ilarian?" Jack nodded. "Not something," he said. "Someone." He placed the chip with the copied keystone file on the table. Rena touched it gently, and her screen lit up with symbols. Her eyes widened as she read. This is real?" She whispered, "This is the code to the silencer." "Yes," Jack said. "And the girl it's inside is Amelia Earhart." Rena blinked. "The human legend?" Jack nodded. "They took her long ago, turned her into one of their own, changed her body, but not her soul. She escaped, and now they want her dead." Rena leaned back, silent. For a moment, then she said, "If she truly carries this code, she's more than a legend. She's a threat to the Ilarian core itself." Jack looked up, confused. "Why?" Rena tapped the screen. "The silencer is not just a weapon. It's their failsafe. If someone unlocks it inside Ilarian territory, it destroys them first." Jack's heart skipped. "You're saying if Amelia reaches their core, she could wipe out the Ilarian Empire?" Rena nodded. "Yes, but only if she's willing to die." Jack's face tightened. "She doesn't know," he said. "She thinks it's just a vault or a machine." Rena spoke quietly. "It's a living weapon, and it will burn her mind to function." Jack stood in silence. He had promised to protect her, but now he held the truth. If they didn't stop the Ilarian soon, they'd use Amelia's code to wipe out Earth, and the only way to stop it might be to send her into the very heart of their empire and let her die. "I need to see her," Jack said. Rena nodded. "We'll bring her here safely." 3 days later, a rebel scout retrieved Amelia's pod. Inside, she still slept, perfectly preserved. Jack stood nearby as the medics carefully opened the chamber. Mist poured out, and her glowing eyes slowly blinked open. She looked around in confusion until she saw Jack. "You came back," she whispered. "I promised," he said gently. She sat up slowly, her body still adjusting to motion. But something had changed. Her skin was now glowing faint gold, not silver. The code inside her was growing stronger. Rena entered the room. "You're Amelia?" she asked, surprised by how young and calm she looked. Amelia nodded. "I used to be," she said. "Now I don't know what I am." Rena explained everything. The silencer, the code, the cost. Amelia listened quietly, then looked at Jack with wide, tired eyes. "You knew?" she asked. Jack looked down. "I just found out," he said softly. "I was going to tell you." Amelia stood up and walked to the glass wall, staring at the stars. "I was supposed to die in the ocean," she said, "and now I might die, saving a galaxy that forgot I existed." Jack walked beside her. "You don't have to do this." "But I do," she said, "because if I don't, they'll use this code to burn Earth, and maybe more." She smiled faintly. "But maybe this time I get to choose how the story ends." Jack touched her shoulder, his voice low. "You're not alone anymore." Amelia looked up at him, her eyes soft. "I know," she said, "and that's what gives me courage." As the rebel base prepared the final plan, Amelia stood at the center, glowing softly. A girl taken from the past, broken by the future, now standing between war and peace. And soon, she would fly again straight into the heart of the enemy, not as a prisoner, but as a pilot with a mission. Asterisk. The rebel fleet floated at the edge of the Ilarian core system. Hundreds of hidden ships stayed in the shadows, their lights off, their engines cold. In the center of the command deck stood Amelia Earhart. Her body no longer looked fully alien or human. It was something in between. Her skin shimmered like moonlight. Her hair floated slightly as if touched by space itself. But her eyes still held that same bold fire, the fire of a pilot who once dared to fly around the world. Jack stood beside her, dressed in stolen Ilarian armor. His mission was simple: get her to the vault. Her mission was to end everything the Ilarian built. Rebel Commander Rena pointed at the holomap. The silencer vault is here inside their command station orbiting their star. It is protected by anti-ship shields and memory-locked doors. No one can open it, she added, then turned to Amelia. Except you, Amelia nodded calmly. She had accepted her fate, not with fear, but with purpose. I was turned into a weapon, she said. But today, I choose where I aim. The rebels prepared a decoy attack to draw the Illyrians' forces away. Meanwhile, Jack and Amelia would slip through the chaos, one stealth shuttle, one chance. If they failed, the Illyrian would keep their empire. And Earth would be next. As the battle began, explosions lit the black sky. Fighter ships danced between fire and silence. Illyrian warships responded, but too late to realize the real threat was already inside. Jack flew the small shuttle into the core's blind spot, with Amelia beside him. Connected to the ship through her glowing hands, she shut down every scanner, every alarm. They moved like ghosts. Once they reached the vault station, Jack landed on the metal deck. The doors were massive, covered in alien runes and ancient tech. Guards patrolled the area, but they didn't see them. Amelia whispered a code, and the metal rippled like water. A doorway appeared, just wide enough for two. Inside, the station was quiet. Walls pulsed with red lights, and the air smelled cold like metal and fear. They walked through the halls until they reached the final door. Behind it was the silencer. Amelia stepped forward. The door read her presence and lit up. A voice echoed, deep and sharp. Biological key detected. Confirm? Jack's hand moved toward her, but she gently stopped him. This is my moment, she said, smiling gently. I started this journey alone. Let me finish it as who I've become. Jack nodded, his voice low. You're the bravest pilot I've ever known. She placed her hand on the door. It opened without a sound. Inside was a glowing orb, floating in the center of the chamber. It pulsed like a heartbeat, alive, aware, ancient. The silencer, the weapon the Illyrian feared. A machine built not just to destroy, but to erase. Amelia stepped forward. Her body reacted, the code in her blood rising, shining through her skin. She winced as pain spread through her chest, but she kept walking. Every step lit up old systems. Memory maps, core connections, fail-safes, everything responded to her. The orb opened like a flower, revealing a dark core. A screen appeared, waiting for a final command. It read, Silencer. Voice activation required. Final consent needed. Amelia stood still, her eyes locked on the screen. Behind her, Jack spoke softly. You don't have to say yes. She turned, tears forming in her glowing eyes. For years, I was just a mystery, she whispered. A question mark in history books. They turned me into something I didn't understand. But now, I finally know why I was taken. To end what they started. She looked at the screen and said the words, Confirm. End protocol. A pulse of energy exploded outward, knocking Jack off his feet. The vault began to collapse, but Amelia remained standing, her body shining brighter, her eyes burning with memory and light. Outside, Illyrian ships across the system lost power. Their weapons died, their ships froze. The code Amelia carried spread like wildfire, eating their control systems, and then the star at the center of their empire turned black. The Illyrian Empire was no more. Later, on a quiet moon near the rebel border, Jack stood beside a silver monument. It showed a woman with wings made of stars, arms outstretched like a pilot rising from her plane. Below it read, Amelia Earhart, pilot, prisoner, protector of worlds. He stared at the sky, then looked at the small glowing crystal he kept around his neck. Inside it, her final memory was recorded. Her voice played gently. Jack, thank you for helping me fly again. He smiled sadly. She was lost once, he whispered. But now, she'll never be forgotten. And far across the galaxy, on every world freed from Illyrian rule, her name became a legend, not just from Earth, but a hero of the stars, the girl who vanished from the sky and returned to save it.